There comes a time in your life when you realize no one is coming to push you. No one is showing up to drag you forward. No one is going to hand you the discipline you need. And no one will stay behind to make sure you're consistent. That job belongs to one person only. You. And if you keep waiting to feel ready, if you keep waiting for motivation to strike, you're already behind. Because the ones who win, the ones who grow, the ones who build something real, they don't wait to feel it. They build it. They become it. Discipline is not something you find. It's something you build through choice, through pain, through repetition, and through resolve. If you want to change your life, start with this truth. Your future will not care how you feel today. It will only reflect what you did about it. The habits you built, the standards you kept, the hours you showed up when you didn't want to, the time you spent building yourself when it would have been easier to make excuses. Discipline is doing it when it's boring, when it's not exciting, when no one claps for you, when it's just you in the dark, showing up again, staying consistent when no one is watching. That's where power is created. But most people don't make it that far. They fall into the trap of emotion. They wait to feel inspired. They want fireworks before they even light a match. But real change, the kind that turns your life around, doesn't come with noise. It comes in silence. It comes in early mornings, in tired nights, in the hours where you could quit, but don't. Discipline is built in quiet decisions. Every time you say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't, you're building it. Every time you stick to your plan, when your mind wants to wander, you're strengthening it. Every time you show up when no one expects you to, you're separating yourself from the pack. You want to rise above average? Then do what average won't do. Be consistent when they get distracted. Be committed when they doubt. Be focused when they scroll. Be relentless when they settle. The biggest lie the world sells you is that motivation is enough. But it's not. Motivation fades. Emotion shifts. But discipline, that's the anchor. That's the engine. That's the unshakable core that drives success forward, no matter what the weather is outside or the mood inside. It doesn't take a genius to win. It takes someone who decides they're done living below their standards. Someone who gets tired of breaking promises to themselves. Someone who finally chooses to raise the bar, not for others, but for themselves. Every morning is a test. Every decision is a vote. You're either moving closer to your potential or drifting further from it. There's no neutral. You're building or breaking, strengthening or slipping. Look around. Everyone wants the result. Few want the repetition. Everyone wants the life. Few want the labor. Everyone wants to be proud of themselves. But most aren't willing to do what it takes to become someone worth being proud of. Discipline is your way out. It's your way up. It's your way through every limitation you think you have. Because when you stay consistent long enough, you stop being limited by what you feel, and you start being powered by what you believe. But let me be clear, belief doesn't come from talking. It doesn't come from repeating quotes. It comes from doing what you said you'd do, again and again, even when you don't feel like it. Especially then, because when you show yourself what you're made of, you stop needing outside validation. You know who you are. You know what you're becoming. It's not talent that separates winners from quitters. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's consistency. It's showing up when others disappear. It's doing the work without needing a reward. It's making progress when others make excuses. Some people spend their whole lives talking about change. But talk doesn't move the needle. Action does. Daily, relentlessly, repeatedly. You want results. Start being someone who does what's necessary. Even when it's hard. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's inconvenient. Don't expect life to get easier. Get stronger. Build the discipline to push through. Sharpen the mindset to stay in motion. Create the rhythm to show up again and again until the work becomes part of who you are. That's when consistency becomes effortless. Not because the work is easy, but because you've changed. You're no longer someone who debates whether to show up. You're someone who shows up, period. You won't get there in one day. You won't build discipline in one moment, but you can start today. You can make today count. You can wake up and do one thing that proves you're serious Then repeat it tomorrow. And the next day, until momentum is on your side. That's how change begins, with one small disciplined step. Then another, then another. Stack enough of those and you'll look back one day and realize you became consistent. You became focused. You became powerful. Not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being committed. You will slip. You will stumble. But the goal is not to never fall. The goal is to never stay down. Bounce back. Recommit. Tighten your grip. Remind yourself why you started. You didn't come this far to quit. You didn't endure the pain just to give up halfway. You didn't fight through the confusion and the fear and the self-doubt just to walk away when it gets hard. This is the part where you level up. This is the moment where you raise your standard and become someone who follows through. The results you want are already on the path, but you don't get to collect them by wandering. You collect them by walking, step by step, consistently, with focus, with hunger, with discipline. Every day is a fresh opportunity to prove to yourself that you're not like the rest, that you are capable of doing what's difficult, that you are committed to building a life you're proud of. No one hands you success. No one gives you growth, but the path is there. The tools are there. The time is here. The question is, will you take the first step? Will you take the second? And will you keep going when it's quiet? When it's slow? When it's hard? Because if you do, you'll find something rare. You'll find that discipline gives you freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from chaos. You'll find that staying consistent gives you power. Power over your choices. Power over your direction. Power over your future. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just untrained. But that can change. You can train your mind. You can train your focus. You can train your discipline. And when you do, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Control. Control over your time. Control over your energy. Control over the life you're building. That's what discipline gives you. That's what consistency protects. Keep going. The work is worth it. The effort matters. Your consistency is not just about goals. It's about character. It's about identity. It's about proving to yourself that you can rely on you. That's a kind of confidence no one can take. Now make today count. Then make tomorrow count. Then keep stacking days until the version of you you've always dreamed of becomes the version you are. The truth is, every excuse you've ever told yourself has an expiration date. Sooner or later, you have to stop giving yourself permission to delay, to avoid, to drift. Sooner or later, you realize that every day you waste waiting to feel ready is another day stolen from your own potential. And when that hits you, really hits you, you start to see discipline in a different light. Not as a burden, not as a punishment, but as the very thing that will free you from regret. Because there's a kind of pain that comes from discipline. Yes, but it's sharp, it's clean, and it passes. The pain of regret, though, that one stays, that one lingers. It eats at you because you know you could have done more. You could have stuck with it. You could have stayed consistent just a little longer. And that thought, it burns deeper than any hard workout or early morning ever will. So what's the answer? It's not a trick. It's not a shortcut. It's the simplest, hardest truth. Decide who you want to be. Decide what kind of life you want to build. Decide that you're not going to be ruled by how you feel, but led by what you want. Then back that decision up with action. Not once, not twice, but every day. And the moment you make that decision real is the moment your life starts to shift. You stop chasing motivation and start chasing mastery. You stop measuring your effort by how convenient it feels and start measuring it by how consistent you are. Because that's what separates those who almost build the life they want from those who actually do. The almost group works hard some of the time. They show up when it feels right. But the ones who break through, they show up regardless. They work when it's not ideal. They commit when no one is watching. And that kind of discipline, it compounds, it multiplies. It builds a foundation that no setback, no failure, no storm can destroy. But don't misunderstand this. It's not about doing 1,000 things perfectly. It's about doing a few things reliably. your health, your habits, your focus, your energy. You don't need chaos. You need clarity, clear priorities, consistent action, and unshakable standards. You can't build a strong life on soft habits. You can't reach your next level if you keep negotiating with yourself every time things get uncomfortable. You think greatness shows up with comfort. No, it shows up in the moments where you could lower your standards, but don't. It shows up when you say, I don't feel like it today, and still show up anyway. That's what builds trust in yourself. That's what rewires your identity. That's what forges someone who doesn't just dream big, but delivers on those dreams. You want to feel confident? Stay consistent. You want to stop doubting yourself? Do what you said you'd do, repeatedly. You want to silence your fears? Outwork them. Outdiscipline them. Drown them in your execution. People think discipline is about being hard on yourself. It's not. It's about being real with yourself. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard, because you finally understand that your life doesn't improve until you improve. And your improvement doesn't happen in random spurts. It happens in the patterns you choose daily. So ask yourself, what pattern are you living in? Are you stuck in a cycle of trying hard for a week and falling off? Are you addicted to starting over? Are you tired of building momentum, only to watch it crumble every time it gets hard? If so, good. Be tired. Let it hit you hard. Let it break the illusion that you can keep living like this and still expect a better result. Because only when you get tired of your own inconsistency will you finally decide to change it. And when you do, when you finally draw the line and say, no more, something changes. You begin to respect your own time. You stop making decisions based on impulse. You protect your routines. You simplify your environment. You say no more often. You make sacrifices. And slowly that discipline turns into identity. That's the power of consistency. It's not loud. It's not glamorous, but it's undefeated. Because while others rely on mood, on motivation, on external rewards, you rely on your word, your calendar, your actions, your choices. You don't need to feel like a machine. You need to feel like someone who's finally honest with themselves, honest enough to admit when you've been inconsistent, brave enough to change it, strong enough to keep changing it even when it gets hard. That's how you level up. That's how you become someone people trust, someone people respect. Not because you talk big, but because you walk solid, quiet, steady, relentless. Look, life won't wait for you to get it together. Time doesn't pause because you had a rough week. Your goals don't lower their standards because your feelings got hurt. The world moves, and either you move with it or you get left behind. But when you lock in, when you stop flinching at discomfort, stop chasing easy routes, stop resetting your effort every time things get tough, you become unstoppable. Not overnight, not magically, but deliberately, with every consistent choice, with every disciplined decision, with every single day you show up and put in the work, whether you feel like it or not. This is the cost of becoming someone extraordinary, doing ordinary things with extraordinary consistency. You don't need another plan. You need to follow through on the one you already know works. You don't need better tools. You need better discipline. You don't need to feel inspired. You need to feel responsible, because your life, your progress, your purpose, it's no one else's job but yours. And the beauty of discipline, it puts the power back in your hands. You're no longer waiting on luck. You're no longer blaming circumstances. You're owning every step, every mistake, every breakthrough. That's where freedom begins. That's where growth begins. So build it, protect it, sharpen it. Let your discipline become who you are. Let your consistency become your advantage. Let your effort speak so loudly you don't have to prove anything to anyone. The quiet work matters. The small decisions matter. The daily grind matters. Stack it, protect it, defend it. And one day, without warning, your life will reflect it. The strength, the clarity, the direction, the momentum, it will all be there because you were disciplined enough to stay when it would have been easier to quit. And that is how you earn everything. Because nobody hands you greatness. Nobody delivers discipline in a box wrapped in motivation. It's built by you, with your choices, with your focus, with your energy directed towards something meaningful. You don't become unstoppable by waiting. You become unstoppable by choosing the hard road and refusing to turn back. You're going to have moments where you want to give up. You're going to have days where everything in you says, take it easy, skip it, you've done enough. That's the moment most people listen to that voice. And that's why most people stay stuck. But if you've come this far, you're not most people. You're the one who hears that voice and goes anyway. You're the one who shows up, even if your legs are tired, your mind is worn, your spirit is heavy, because somewhere deep down you know something. Most people don't. Discipline isn't about feeling ready. It's about showing respect for your future self. It's about honoring the life you're trying to build, not just surviving the one you're in now. There's a moment in every person's journey where things get quiet. No praise, no applause, just you, the mirror, the schedule, the grind. That's where champions are built, not in the spotlight, not when it's convenient, but in the silence when no one is watching, and you still choose to do what's right. That's where transformation happens. In your ability to be consistent, even when it's boring. In your refusal to let one bad day turn into a bad week. In your discipline to get back on track without needing to feel like it. Because the truth is, feelings are unreliable. They shift with the wind. But discipline, that's your anchor. That's the thing that keeps you grounded when life gets messy. That's what keeps you climbing when you don't see the top yet. And over time, you begin to change. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to notice you're no longer making excuses. You're making progress. You're not hoping anymore. You're executing. You're not chasing perfection. You're chasing growth. And that's what life rewards. Not the person who starts fast, but the person who stays the course. The one who keeps showing up. The one who gets knocked down and still shows up. The one who doesn't need an audience to be accountable. The one who doesn't wait for permission to be great. You become that person, not by accident, but by discipline. You build that identity day by day, habit by habit, win by win, and suddenly you don't even recognize the old version of yourself. The one who quit early, the one who doubted too much, the one who broke promises to themselves. That version fades, and in its place stands someone with a backbone, with strength, with standards. That's the real reward. Not just what you achieve, but who you become. The kind of person who does what they say. The kind of person who builds trust with themselves. The kind of person who gets things done with or without applause, with or without perfect circumstances, with or without motivation. And if that sounds like the kind of person you want to be, then don't wait. Begin today. Show up today. Stay consistent today. Make today a victory, not by chance, but by choice. Because the longer you wait, the more comfortable you become with staying average. The longer you wait, the more your goals become just ideas you talk about, instead of realities you live. And you weren't made to coast. You weren't made to settle. You were made to rise. But no one rises without resistance. And that resistance, that's where discipline is forged. That's where consistency becomes your superpower. When it's uncomfortable, when you're tired, when you feel alone in the process, that's when you double down. That's when you press forward. That's when you build momentum so strong. It carries you through even your hardest seasons. And here's the truth. Your life right now is a reflection of your patterns. If you want better outcomes, create better patterns. Be consistent in what matters. Get clear on what you value. Cut what doesn't serve your mission. And stop letting temporary feelings dictate your long-term direction. You can't control everything. Life will throw its punches. But what you can control is your discipline, your response, your ability to stay locked in, even when things feel chaotic. Because discipline brings order to your chaos. Discipline brings power to your potential. Discipline brings structure to your purpose. So stay with it. Don't just do it once and hope for results. Stay consistent until it becomes natural, until it becomes automatic, until it becomes who you are. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to never stop, to never lose sight of what you started for, to never stop building, even when no one notices. Because the work you do in private will always show up in public. The person you build behind the scenes will always show up in the spotlight. And you're not doing this just for today. You're doing this for the future you, the stronger you, the clearer you, the more focused, more resilient, more powerful version of yourself that only shows up when you've earned it. So take a breath, stand tall, and keep going. Keep choosing the hard path. Keep doing the little things right. Keep pushing through when it would be easier to quit. Because one day, not far from now, you'll look back and realize all those early mornings, all those tough choices, all those moments of doubt where you still moved forward, they added up. They became the reason you made it. They became the reason you're stronger, clearer, more disciplined. And at that point, you'll no longer need motivation to continue. You'll keep going because it's simply who you are. And when it becomes who you are, the world begins to respond differently to you. Not because you said the right things, not because you posted about your grind, but because you became someone who lives it. You don't just talk about growth, you reflect it in your habits. You don't just dream about success, you construct it piece by piece. People will start to wonder what changed. They'll ask how you got so focused, so driven, so different, and you won't have to explain. Because your discipline will speak louder than any words. Your consistency will make noise without saying a single thing. You'll walk into rooms differently, not because of arrogance, but because of certainty. You'll carry yourself with a calm intensity. Because when you've built your life on discipline, you stop chasing validation. You stop needing to prove yourself to everyone else, because you've already proven it to yourself. You've done the work when it wasn't convenient. You've made the decisions no one else was willing to make. You've been consistent when it was hard. You've built your identity on effort, not excuses. That kind of foundation can't be shaken. And sure, life will test it. You'll still have setbacks. You'll still feel resistance. But now you're prepared, because discipline doesn't just prepare you for good times. It prepares you for the storms, for the failures, for the unexpected. It builds something unshakable inside you, something that can't be taken away by circumstances. And that's the difference between people who just wish and people who win. Those who wish are always starting over, always making promises they don't keep, always waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, the motivation to strike. But those who win, they work through the doubt, they move through the fatigue, they stay grounded in the mission, even when no one else understands it. And that's who you're becoming. Not overnight, but over time. With every disciplined action, with every consistent choice, with every time you say, I'll keep going, even when it's easier to say no. Because that's the truth. Your life is built in the moments where most people quit. The temptation to quit is strongest right before the breakthrough. The pull to relax, to ease up, to give in, it always shows up when you're on the edge of change. That's when you need to tighten your grip, not loosen it. That's when you need to double your focus, not drift away. Stay alert, stay engaged. Don't let your mind trick you into comfort when your soul knows you're meant for more. Keep your vision in front of you, not just what you want, but who you want to be. A person who is accountable, a person who lives with intention, a person who refuses to waste time chasing distractions, a person who shows up every single day with purpose in their eyes. That kind of life takes effort. It takes saying no to things that steal your energy. It takes ignoring the noise. It takes doing what's important before what's convenient. But it's worth it. Because nothing beats the power of knowing you are in control of your actions. Nothing beats the peace that comes with consistency. Nothing beats the freedom that comes from living with discipline. And yes, it will be lonely sometimes. Yes, it will be frustrating. Yes, there will be days where you feel like it's not working, but the process is working on you. And that is the reward. That's what no one can take. Because while others are chasing the outcome, you're focused on becoming the kind of person who earns it. It's not about chasing highs. It's about holding yourself to higher standards. It's not about hustling for praise. It's about becoming so consistent, so locked in, that progress becomes inevitable. You start to move different. You start to think clearer. You start to trust yourself in ways you never have before. And all of it, the strength, the momentum, the success, it grows out of one thing: Your ability to stay disciplined. Your ability to keep showing up. Not when it's easy, but when it's hardest. Because the harder it gets, the stronger you grow. The more uncomfortable the season, the more prepared you become. The more you push through when no one else is watching. The more unstoppable you become when they finally see you. That's what discipline gives you. Internal power. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop hesitating and start executing. You stop hoping and start building. And you don't need anyone to notice, because you notice. You know when you're doing the right things. You know when you're on track. And that inner knowing, that quiet confidence, is the most powerful currency you can carry. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to impress. You realize all of that is noise. Real fulfillment doesn't come from being seen. It comes from knowing you're becoming the kind of person you were always meant to be. The kind of person who doesn't flinch when it's hard. The kind of person who keeps their word, even when it costs them comfort. The kind of person who stands strong, not because they feel strong, but because they've trained themselves to never fold. You don't get there by accident. You don't become that person by watching others. You get there by doing the work every day, consistently, relentlessly, unapologetically. You get there by building discipline like a muscle, repetition, intention, consistency. You get there by never giving up. Not once, not ever, on the version of you who's waiting on the other side of your effort. And when that version shows up, when that person emerges, you'll look back and realize it was all worth it. Every early morning, every late night, every small win, every hard day, every time you kept going when quitting would have been easier. You'll realize discipline didn't take from you. It gave to you. It gave you a life you could be proud of. It gave you peace. It gave you strength. It gave you clarity. It gave you you. And now that you've become the kind of person who shows up for themselves, no matter what, you don't go backward. You can't, because you've seen what's possible when you stop negotiating with your old habits. You've seen what happens when you hold the line, when you raise your standards and refuse to lower them, even when the world tells you to relax. This isn't a phase. This isn't a streak. This is who you are now. You don't need motivation to move. You move because it's time to move. You don't wait for inspiration. You act because that's what keeps your mind clear and your spirit alive. You understand now, discipline is freedom. Structure is power. Routine is not the enemy. It's the ally of your greatness. And when things get uncertain, you fall back on the habits that got you here. You stop looking around and start looking within. You stop reacting to the chaos and start anchoring to the consistency you've built. It doesn't matter what happens around you anymore. You don't bend with the wind. You don't shatter when life throws its weight, because you've prepared for this. You've trained for it. Every day you woke up and did the hard thing. Every day you made the uncomfortable choice. Every day you proved to yourself, I'm not here to be average. I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to rise above what I used to settle for. There's something quiet but powerful about being dependable, not to others, first to yourself. Being the kind of person who doesn't break promises they make to themselves, that's strength. That's rare. And once you have it, you don't trade it for anything. Not for comfort, not for quick wins, not for temporary praise, because you know where that leads. You've seen it before, starting and stopping. All talk, no follow-through. That life is behind you now. You're not chasing motivation anymore because you understand that emotions are temporary. And that's why discipline wins. Because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline asks what needs to be done. And it gets done every time. This is the edge most people never reach. They dabble in discipline. They flirt with consistency. But they don't commit. And that's why they're stuck. Not you. You made the decision. You didn't just dip your toe in. You jumped in fully. You stopped entertaining distractions. You stopped making room for weakness. You chose focus over comfort, truth over feelings, action over words. That's what separates those who live with regret from those who live with pride. You'll never regret staying disciplined. You'll never regret showing up. You'll never look back and think, I wish I'd skipped more days. I wish I gave less effort. I wish I quit sooner. You'll look back and be grateful you stayed in it. You'll look back and remember the pain, the push, the growth, and you'll smile. Because you know you didn't cheat yourself. You gave what was required, and now the results are yours. You want clarity, show up consistently. You want confidence, keep the promises you make to yourself. You want peace, live in alignment with your values every single day. It's not complicated. It's just not easy, but you're not afraid of effort anymore. You've learned that effort is the price of progress, and you're willing to pay it every day. No matter what it costs, you're not interested in shortcuts. You're building something real, and real takes time. Real takes grit. Real takes relentless commitment to the small, often invisible decisions that no one claps for. That's where the real champions are made. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the quiet, in the early mornings, the late nights, the tired hours where everything inside you says stop, and you say keep going. That's how you sharpen the edge. That's how you create separation. Most people will never feel the power of that level of control. They'll keep chasing balance without discipline, freedom without structure, happiness without effort. But not you, because you've tasted what it feels like to be in control of your own story. And now that you've experienced that, nothing else will satisfy you. You'll never again settle for a life built on excuses. You'll never again hand your power to distraction. You'll never again be at the mercy of how you feel. You'll lead yourself every single day. That's what greatness is. Not perfection. Not winning every time, but refusing to be the kind of person who gives up when things get hard. Because things will get hard. No plan will ever save you from that. But discipline will. Consistency will. And the person you become by doing the hard thing, that person will be ready for anything. So build yourself every day. Not for anyone else. Not for likes or applause or recognition. Do it because you respect yourself too much to live a life you're not proud of. Do it because discipline is how you show love to your future. Do it because consistency is how you earn trust in yourself. And once you have that, once you can count on yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing outcomes and start owning your effort. You stop being swayed by distractions and start being driven by values. You stop running from resistance and start growing through it. This is what it means to live on purpose. This is what it feels like to be free. Not free from work, but free through the work. Not free from responsibility, but free because you choose to carry it with honor. That's the reward. A life built by you, shaped by your hands, defined by your decisions. And every time you feel like slipping, every time you feel like stepping back, remember this, you've already come too far to go back to who you used to be. And you're just getting started. You're just getting warmed up. The foundation you've built wasn't meant to be the finish line. It was meant to be the launch pad. This version of you, the one who wakes up and moves with intention, who doesn't flinch when things get uncomfortable, that version is only scratching the surface of what you're capable of. Most people slow down after a few wins. They let the applause soften their drive. They ease up once progress shows up. But you're not here for short-term success. You're here for lasting transformation. You don't just want to feel better, you want to be better every day, in every way. And that takes discipline that doesn't fade when things are good. You don't ease up when you're ahead. You tighten your focus. You increase your effort. You sharpen your routine. Because you know momentum is fragile, and comfort is always waiting to steal your progress. You've learned to stop negotiating with your goals. You don't give yourself too many options anymore. You choose growth again and again. Discipline has become your identity now. Not just your strategy, it's who you are. And when something is part of your identity, you don't have to hype yourself up to live it. You just do. You don't talk about it. You prove it. You don't broadcast it. You embody it. Every decision you make now, what you eat, how you train, how you speak to yourself, how you spend your time, reflects your commitment to becoming more. That's power. That's control. That's ownership. And it's earned, not given. You earned it by showing up when you didn't feel like it. By keeping your word when no one was watching. By choosing effort when excuses were easier. You've paid the price for progress. You've sacrificed what was easy for what was worth it. And that sacrifice built something unshakable inside you. So even when life throws a storm at your feet, you don't collapse. You hold your ground because you've already trained in the rain. You've already climbed when you were tired. You've already proven that discipline isn't something you do. It's something you are. And the more you live that way, the more you start attracting what others only hope for. Clarity, strength, confidence, trust. Not because you were lucky, but because you were consistent. Because you planted the right seeds every single day, even when they didn't sprout right away. You've learned the power of delayed gratification. You've trained yourself to stop chasing the feeling of now and instead build for the future you believe in. That's emotional maturity. That's mental strength. That's how you stop being reactive and start being deliberate. You live on purpose now. You don't just drift through the day. You design it. You shape it. And when it tries to shape you, you push back with the strength of the habits you've built. Because you don't leave your mood to chance anymore. You don't leave your energy, your progress, or your future to chance. You take charge. You start the day before the world tells you what to do. You take care of your body before your body cries out for attention. You take care of your mind before stress tries to break it down. That's discipline. That's self-respect in action. And the results, they come. Slowly at first, quietly, but then suddenly, they're undeniable. People start to notice, but you don't need their approval because you're already fulfilled by your effort. You already feel that quiet pride when you look in the mirror. Not because you're perfect, but because you know you didn't quit on yourself. And that's a rare feeling in this world. Most people give up the moment things feel off. They let one bad day cancel a month of progress. They break down the second things stop feeling good. But you've become the kind of person who keeps going anyway. You've stopped letting feelings dictate your future. You've built your future on action, not emotion. You do what needs to be done, even if it's boring, even if it's hard, even if no one else is doing it. That's what creates separation. That's what builds a life most people never touch. So don't stop now. Don't slow down. Don't coast just because you've made progress. This is where the real transformation begins. The part where you take the new standard you've built and lock it in so deep, it becomes unshakable. Because you know how easy it is to fall back, to take your foot off the gas, to start skipping the little things that made you great. But you also know this, your future depends on how consistent you can stay after the motivation wears off. And now that you've come this far, now that you've felt the weight of your own potential, it's your duty to see it through. You don't just owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people counting on you to rise. You owe it to the future version of you who's watching, hoping, depending you to not give up when it gets hard. So rise higher, tighten your routine, raise your standards, and go again. Because discipline built you, and discipline will take you even further than you ever imagined. And from here, the goal is no longer just to maintain what you've built. It's to expand, to stretch, to evolve beyond every limit you once believed was fixed. Because when you live with discipline and stay consistent, your boundaries aren't boundaries anymore. They're just starting points. You stop asking, can I handle this? And start asking, how far can I go? That's the difference. That's the shift. And once it clicks, once it truly becomes part of how you think, you stop living small. You stop hesitating. You stop hiding. Because you realize there's no reward in playing safe. You don't grow when you coast. You grow when you challenge your own comfort again and again. The truth is, every level of life demands a different you, a more focused you, a more resilient you, a more prepared you. You can't meet the next level with yesterday's habits. You need stronger systems. You need sharper focus. You need deeper commitment. And that means staying disciplined, even when your current life is already good. Because good can be the enemy of great. You must choose to stay hungry. Choose to remain humble. Choose to never let your past wins turn into present complacency. Because discipline isn't about how you start. It's about how you finish and how you continue. In the middle, when it's boring, repetitive, and quiet, that's when champions are made. You get stronger, not when it's exciting, but when it's routine, when it's hard, when there's no novelty left, only the grind, the reps, the repeated decision to show up and do the work anyway. And that's the moment most people check out. They want change, but they want it to feel exciting forever. They want transformation, but they don't want the monotony that creates it. But you've grown past that. You don't need everything to feel good. You don't need praise, recognition, or the perfect mood. You need purpose. You need standards. You need a direction so solid that you don't sway just because it gets repetitive. Because you've realized greatness is built in repetition. The world rewards those who can do the boring things with excellence, who can show up on the hard days just as strong as they do on the good ones, who can keep momentum alive when motivation disappears. And you're becoming that person. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one early morning, one late night, one honest effort at a time. That's what defines your life now. Not the goals you set, but the consistency you live with. That's what creates the deep confidence, the kind that doesn't fade when the environment changes, the kind that lives in your bones, because you've earned it. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's calm. It comes from knowing you've done the work. It comes from discipline. It comes from showing up when it would have been easier to disappear. And that confidence, it begins to shape your relationships, your energy, your influence. People feel it because people can sense when someone is grounded, when someone is real, when someone has fought battles within themselves and come out stronger on the other side. That's who you are becoming. The one who leads from example, the one who inspires not by what they say, but by how they live. And here's the key. You don't just stay consistent for the big wins. You stay consistent because it's the most powerful way to live, because it's how you stay aligned with your values, because it's how you make peace with yourself at the end of the day. You know this by now. Discipline is hard. Consistency is demanding. But you've learned that regret costs more. And every time you choose discipline over impulse, you avoid the heavy weight of disappointment. That's the real reward. Not just success, but peace. Because peace doesn't come from escaping pressure. It comes from knowing you faced it and you didn't fold. So you keep going. You stay with the plan. You adjust when necessary, but you never stop. Because you're not just chasing a goal. You're building a life, a way of being, a legacy of effort, responsibility, and excellence. And when the noise gets louder, when distractions try to pull you back, you remember this. You didn't start this journey for applause. You didn't start it for attention. You started it because you were tired of living beneath your potential. You were tired of letting life happen to you. You made the choice to become someone who creates their life, not someone who reacts to it. And that choice, that was the beginning of everything. So guard it, protect it, recommit to it every morning. Because every day you wake up, you're not just deciding what to do. You're deciding who you are. You're proving to yourself that you are still the one who shows up, the one who follows through, the one who does the work. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. And when the future shows up, and it always will, it will reflect the work you've done. It will mirror the standard you set. It will reveal whether you lived by distraction or by design. You're not guessing anymore. You're choosing. You're acting. You're leading yourself. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Because once you take full ownership of your life, once you stop waiting for the right timing, the right feeling, or the right conditions, something changes inside you forever. You stop looking for signs. You stop asking for permission. You stop needing everything to be perfect before you act. You just go. You move because it's time. Because discipline doesn't need to be in the mood. It only needs a reason. And your reason is stronger than your excuses. You know what's on the line. You know what's at stake. You know how it feels to hold back. And you're not willing to feel that again. So you push. You persist. You repeat the effort. Not because it's fun, but because it's right. Because it gets you closer. Because the small things done with discipline become the big victories no one saw coming. People look at results and call them overnight success. But you know what it really took. You remember the mornings you didn't want to wake up, the workouts you didn't want to start, the late nights where you worked while others rested, the sacrifices no one clapped for. That's what built you. Not a single moment, but thousands of disciplined moments stacked together with consistency. That's what makes the difference between wishing and winning, between intentions and results. between the ones who try and the ones who become. You're no longer interested in living by chance. You live by design. You're not hoping things will turn around. You're making sure they do. And the only way that happens is if you never let up. Not in your thinking, not in your standards, not in your habits. Because the truth is, the moment you let yourself slide, it becomes easier to slide again. One skip day turns into two. One bad week becomes a pattern. And before you know it, you're back at square one, frustrated, disappointed, and wondering where all your progress went. You've been there before. And it's exactly why you refuse to go back. You've felt the pain of quitting. You've felt the guilt of giving in. You've seen what it costs to break your own trust. So now, you make it non-negotiable. You show up, no matter what. Because nothing is more expensive than the price of inconsistency. That's why you protect your discipline like it's sacred. Because it is. It's not just a habit. It's your anchor. It keeps you steady when life shakes. It keeps you grounded when emotions flare. It keeps you focused when everything else tries to pull your attention away. Discipline is your shield, and consistency is your sword. You walk into each day prepared, not because life is predictable, but because you are. And that consistency gives you an edge, a level of confidence that doesn't come from luck or talent, but from doing the hard things over and over again until they become part of your nature. And now the results are inevitable. Not because you hope for them, but because you've earned them. You've bled for them. You've given more than most are willing to give. You've stayed when others walked away. You've worked through doubt, through fatigue, through silence. You've done the lonely work, the quiet work, the work that doesn't get applause, but builds everything that does. So now when challenges come, you don't flinch. You've trained for this. You've lived in the tension. You've endured the discipline. You've built the habits. You've shaped your mind to remain calm, even when the pressure builds. You're not thrown off by obstacles anymore. You expect them. You welcome them. Because now every difficulty is fuel. Every test is an opportunity to prove your consistency. Every delay is a moment to deepen your discipline. You've changed. And not in theory, in practice. You don't just talk about consistency, you live it. You don't just talk about discipline, you embody it. And when you look in the mirror, you don't see someone trying, you see someone transforming. And that's not hype, that's history, that's evidence, that's truth. Your results are catching up to your effort. Your reality is rising to match your discipline. And the life you once dreamed of, it's beginning to take shape, slowly, surely, powerfully. So keep going. Because this isn't about being perfect, it's about being committed, about getting back up every time you fall, about never letting a setback become your identity. You don't fall off, you recalibrate. You don't spiral, you refocus. Because you've built a rhythm now, a system, a process that runs even when motivation doesn't show up. That's the secret. That's the edge. That's what makes you relentless. While others wait to feel ready, you act. While others get distracted by the noise, you tune in. While others hope for easier days, you train for stronger ones. And that mindset, that will take you places talent never could. That will build a foundation that can't be broken by failure or success. Because your consistency doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on what you've decided. And you've decided no matter what, you will not quit on yourself again. You will not go back to the old version. You will not let discipline become optional. You will not let consistency slip through your fingers. You've tasted the power of staying aligned, and you will not settle for anything less. This is your life now, and you're not waiting for the future. You're creating it. One act of discipline, one consistent step, one non-negotiable standard at a time. And that's how you win. You win by showing up when it's not exciting. You win by pushing forward when no one is watching. You win by staying loyal to your vision, even when your current results don't match it yet. That's the quiet truth about success. It doesn't scream. It doesn't flash. It whispers. It builds in the background. It rewards those who do what they said they'd do, long after the mood has left them. And that's you now. You've become someone who can be counted on. Someone who doesn't need pressure to perform. Someone who isn't moved by outside noise. Because you've spent enough time building the inside, the core of who you are. You're not looking for shortcuts anymore. You know where they lead. You're not chasing hacks. You're doing the work, day after day. because you've learned the value of consistency is worth more than any trick or gimmick, and it's paying off. Not just in results, but in who you're becoming. Every time you choose discipline, you strengthen your identity. Every time you stay consistent, you add another brick to the foundation you're standing on. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. So even when you're tired, you don't break. Even when things slow down, you don't stall. You adjust your pace, but you never stop moving. Because you know life will test you. Life will poke holes in your excuses. Life will call your bluff. It will give you chances to quit dressed up as reasonable breaks. And if you're not locked in, those breaks will turn into backslides. And those backslides will take you further from the person you said you were going to become. That's why you stay sharp. That's why you keep your goals in front of you. That's why you don't just hope, you plan, you prepare, you act with intention. Discipline isn't something you use just when it's convenient. It's the default setting. It's how you breathe now. It's how you respond when things don't go your way. Because when others get emotional, you stay focused. When others drift, you dial in. When others chase comfort, you chase purpose. And the gap widens. Quietly, steadily, you separate yourself not with noise, but with your choices. And over time, those choices build momentum. They compound. They create a version of you that doesn't get knocked off course easily. And that version of you is dangerous. Dangerous to your doubts. Dangerous to your limitations. Dangerous to every excuse that used to run your life. Because now, when fear tries to speak, you don't listen. When laziness tries to creep in, you push it out. When distractions try to seduce you, you return to your path again and again. Because this life you're building is worth protecting. You're not here to fit in. You're here to rise above, to lead, to live with so much integrity that it becomes impossible for you to betray your own standards. And if that sounds intense, it's because it is. This isn't about living casually. This is about rising deliberately, building intentionally, becoming the kind of person who demands more from themselves, not from ego, but from responsibility. You don't just owe it to your future. You owe it to the people around you, the ones watching, the ones depending on you to keep going, the ones learning how to live by studying how you move. You owe it to the version of you that stayed up late, trying to figure it out, the one who cried in silence, but still woke up and tried again, the one who believed when no one else did. And if that version of you made it this far, there's no turning back now. You've already come too far to start negotiating with the things that used to control you. You've already proven you can show up when it's hard. You've already demonstrated that you're not average, not in how you think, not in how you act, and not in how you live. So you stay with it. You protect your mornings. You guard your energy. You respect your commitments. You move through each day with the quiet power of someone who knows exactly who they're becoming. And you keep building, even if the results are slow, even if the rewards don't show up right away. Because you're not doing it for a quick payoff. You're doing it to become someone solid, someone sharp, someone dependable. You're doing it to look back at your life and know without a doubt that you gave it everything. No shortcuts, no compromises, just consistent, disciplined action, stacked on top of more disciplined action. You do it because you respect yourself now. And when you respect yourself, you don't make decisions that betray your values. You don't waste time. You don't make promises you don't intend to keep, because your word means something. Your time means something. Your life means something. Your life means something. And if you're going to build something with meaning, you can't afford to live like everyone else. You can't afford to blend in. You can't afford to keep taking days off from your own purpose. So keep going. Keep proving to yourself that you can stay steady in a world that keeps shifting. Keep showing the world what it looks like to live with real standards. Keep showing yourself that you are still worthy of the future you want, because you're still willing to do what it takes. This is how you change your life. One disciplined act, one consistent day, one non-negotiable decision at a time. And it never stops. Not because you're obsessed with perfection, but because you're addicted to growth. Because you know the best is still ahead of you. Because you've decided this is who you are now. And when you've made that decision, nothing can stop you. You don't need motivation to finish what you started. You've moved beyond that now. Motivation fades, emotions shift, but you stay, you show up, you build, you correct, you refine, you execute, because the real prize isn't out there. It's in who you're becoming every single day. You choose discipline over ease, consistency over comfort, and integrity over impulse. You've become your own proof. You've become the reason someone else believes they can start. Not because you made it look flashy, not because you shouted about your progress, but because you stayed consistent when no one clapped, because you kept your word when no one would have blamed you for quitting, because you built in silence and let the results make the noise. That's legacy. That's strength. That's power. You've rewritten the way you live. You've taken control of your time. You've stopped waiting for the perfect conditions. You've killed the old version of you who needed everything to feel right before taking action. You don't need perfect. You need progress. And you've proved you can generate that progress on hard days, quiet days, lonely days, busy days, days when nothing makes sense, days when you question everything. Even on those days, you stay grounded. That's what separates the ones who rise from the ones who fade. Discipline keeps you rooted when the storm comes. Consistency moves you forward when the wind tries to push you back. You've stopped reacting. You've started creating with your actions, with your decisions, with your standards. And every step you take now echoes into your future. Because you're not chasing a quick win. You're planting seeds. Seeds that turn into systems. Systems that turn into a lifestyle. A way of being. A way of thinking. A way of living that keeps getting stronger. That's the hidden reward of consistency. The results are great, but the person you become along the way, that's priceless. You've become someone who honors your word, not just to others, but to yourself. You've become someone who isn't swayed by feelings. You lead with focus. You've become someone who gets up when it's uncomfortable. Someone who fights for their future every single day. Someone who knows exactly what they're working for and doesn't take a single day for granted. And now you carry a quiet confidence. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. You built that through repetition, through structure, through self-control, through falling down and getting up again and again. And now you're unrecognizable to the person you used to be. You've built a new identity from scratch. One that's solid, one that's clear, one that doesn't back down when things get hard. This is what winning looks like. Not noise, not applause, not validation from others, but self-respect, self-mastery, discipline and consistency, so sharp they cut through any obstacle in your way. You've earned the right to move differently now. You've earned the right to look yourself in the mirror and say, I stayed true. I showed up. I kept going. I built something no one could take from me. And it's only the beginning. Because the truth is, the further you go down this path, the clearer you see this isn't a phase. This isn't a grind. This is your life now. A life built on strength. A life guided by purpose. A life driven by who you've decided to be. So keep walking. Don't speed up for applause. Don't slow down for comfort. Walk with precision. Walk with direction. Walk like your future depends on it. Because it does. And every step you take, disciplined, focused, consistent, is another step away from the old you, and another step toward the life you've always known was possible. It's not coming. You're creating it. One decision, one action, one day at a time. Discipline yourself. Stay consistent. And don't ever look back.